Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. We have another day of Vlogmas, but today's video is going to be a what's for dinner. So obviously this was filmed over a few different days, actually a few different weeks. I've got 3 recipes to share with you. I didn't want to just completely stop my what's for dinner during Vlogmas, so I'm gonna still throw a couple of these in here. So let's get started into the first recipe. All right guys, so I don't have a ton to share with you. In this particular one, this was super easy. We just had some baked chicken. If you're new here, I do not like to handle raw meat, so I'm using gloves. And a lot of my dishes were dirty on this day, so I used pie plates. You know, you do what works. So I am just drizzling some extra virgin olive oil. These were some extra thin chicken breasts that I grabbed on sale from Aldi. And then I have a mix here. 1 teaspoon of paprika, a half a teaspoon of seasoned salt, a half a teaspoon of chili powder, half a teaspoon of garlic powder, and a half a teaspoon of onion powder. If you like black pepper, you could also add in a quarter teaspoon of black pepper. I'm not a fan, so I always leave that out and let my husband add pepper if he wishes. So I'm just drizzling the olive oil and the seasoning on both sides, and then I'm gonna put this in the oven at 400 degrees. The recipe calls for about 20 to 26 minutes. Mine did not take very long because, once again, these were really thin, but I'll have the original recipe linked in the description box for you so that it's easy for you to find. With this dinner, I also made a sweet potato pie. I have a video specifically for this that I posted before Thanksgiving, so I'm not gonna give it to you all here. I'm just showing you real quick, but I'll include a link to that video in my description box. This was amazing. Really, really good. And I ended up pulling that clip out to make a video, and I thought, well, you know what, I'll still show the original full dinner video. So just kind of whatever. Anyways, we're just gonna have some steamed veggies on the side, and I was kind of cleaning up the freezer. This was before Thanksgiving, so I just steamed up some broccoli and some corn, as well as some green beans, and just steamed them up on the stove with a little bit of water, just kind of using whatever half-used bags were left in the freezer. But this chicken came out wonderful, as did everything else. Once again, the sweet potato pie was amazing. Check it out in the description box. Go see that video. This was a delicious dinner. I would do all of this all over again. All right guys, so for tonight's dinner, I am making a vegetable beef soup. I've got 1 pound of ground beef cooking up right now with a half of an onion diced. It was supposed to be a whole onion, but honestly, my eyes were watering so much this time that I just decided to, end it there. You're supposed to have about 3 cups of frozen veggies. I have some frozen, some canned, some fresh. I'm just kind of using what I've got. So I'm gonna cut up my carrots right now and add them to here real quick while the meat's finishing to cook, because I think they'll take a little bit longer than the others. And then we're gonna go ahead and add the rest of the ingredients. All right, now the recipe does say to drain any fat. I actually had to put some avocado oil in here to cook the meat because the beef we get, we bought like a half of a cow, and it's just super, super lean. All right, so the beef is just about cooked, but I'm gonna just let it cook a little bit longer with those carrots. We're gonna add in a teaspoon of basil and a teaspoon of garlic powder. All right, so now I'm going to add in my corn, which was canned, and my green beans, which was frozen. It's suggested to pull the frozen veggies out just to let them come to room temperature a little bit so they could cook quicker, so I did do that. I'm gonna add in 1 1/4 cup of beef broth. That does not make sense. That does not seem like it's enough, but we're gonna wait till we're finished here. The recipe calls for 1 can of tomato sauce, which I think was 15 ounces. I have about half of a jar of tomato sauce that I froze and put in the freezer so it wouldn't go bad. And so it's still a little bit frozen, but I'm just gonna use this. I think it's probably very close to the same amount, and yeah, it'll work. But it needs to thaw. I feel like I'm gonna need a lot more broth, but maybe it won't once the tomato sauce thins out here. The recipe also calls for 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. I'm using my coconut aminos, along with 1 tablespoon of molasses. I also have some frozen peas that I will add for my husband. I do not care for peas, but I did pull those out of the freezer that I will heat up and add into his. So I am just going to let this sit for a minute in the tomato sauce thaw, and then if I think I'm going to need more broth, I will. But at this point, this is everything. You just let it simmer for about 15 or 20 minutes once you bring it up to a boil. So if it looks like enough broth at that point, I will leave it. It looks like it might be. We'll see. I also have some tomatoes that need to be used, so I just diced up one Roma tomato to add in there, just trying to use up some things that I have. All right, mine is just almost to a simmer. The sauce that I use is just about thawed, and I'm gonna add in just a touch more broth because I want mine to be more soupy. This doesn't seem super soupy. Not much, maybe like a half a cup, I don't know. All right, that just seems better to me, but do what you want. I'll have the original recipe linked as usual. We're just going to let this simmer for about, I think 15 to 20 minutes is what the recipe said. All right, so here it is. I did test it a second ago. All of the veggies are tender. And although the recipe didn't call for it, I thought this would be good with some cheese on top. So we shredded up some Monterey Jack. So we're going to serve up dinner. Here it is. We've got dinner served. Looks really, really good. Cannot wait to eat this. But that does it for tonight's dinner. Okay, so this next recipe is a beef ramen noodle stir fry, I think is what it's called. I'll have the original recipe linked below. I'm heating up some avocado oil in a pan and tossing in some frozen broccoli, along with a little bit of onion and some chopped up carrots. Now the recipe calls for more onion, but I was just using what was left over from the other dinner that you just saw. And then it also calls for some red bell pepper, which I didn't have, but I added in the broccoli or the carrots because that just sounded like that would, I don't know, go well. So again, original recipe listed in the description box, but this is what I'm doing. And I'm just gonna saute that and cook that until everything gets nice and tender. Once the vegetables are tender, you're going to pull them out and put them aside. And then I just am using the same pan and cooking up some ground beef. At this point I was realizing I need to put on my apron. I tend to not do that, and then I end up getting grease stains on my clothes. So we're just gonna cook up the beef until that is fully cooked. I also have some water boiling on the back for our ramen noodles. While the beef is cooking, I decided to cut up my cooked veggies a little bit more because the broccoli pieces tend to be pretty large, so I just wanted to cut them up into smaller pieces. All right, so now we're gonna make the sauce for this recipe, and it calls for a 1/4 cup of soy sauce. I'm using my coconut aminos instead. 1 tablespoon of brown sugar, 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, which I didn't have, so I just used white vinegar, 2 teaspoons of sriracha, 1 clove of garlic minced, and then 1 scallion chopped. I do not have any scallions, so I just omitted that, and we're just going to mix that all up together and wait until we need it. So once the water's boiling, I'm tossing in the noodles, just breaking them up a little bit. Those take like, I think 3 minutes to cook, so not long at all. So do that right at the end. Now we ended up using 2 packages of noodles, but I will admit for our leftovers, we ended up making up some more noodles. So do it to taste, I guess. So now once the meat is cooked, I'm just adding the vegetables back in. And then once the noodles are cooked, we're going to put those in the skillet and add in the sauce on top and toss everything together. And this dinner was so good. I will definitely make this again. It was very quick to throw together and it was absolutely delicious. All right guys, so that's gonna do it for this video. Just 3 simple, quick and easy recipes. I hope you enjoy them. They were all really, really good. And I'm not just saying that because I tell you when things don't come out. So anyways, that's it for this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe by hitting the red subscription button below and hit the notification bell next to it so you don't miss out on my future videos. Lots more to come in Vlogmas.